Just like a boomerang, I am back in action. Hey guys, it's Sierra, aka Book Royal. I'm so sorry there wasn't a video last week, but things got a little crazy, college and all that stuff. Hence why, the scenery is a bit different because I'm back in my dorm room. But I will be making videos every Friday from now on, so if you haven't subscribed, you should. Today I'm going to be reviewing Silver Shadows by Richelle Mead. And if you don't know, you're not familiar with Richelle Mead, she wrote the Vampire Academy series, and Silver Shadows is actually the second to last book in the Bloodline series, which is a spin-off of the Vampire Academy series, and I love it so much. This book picks up where we left off with Sydney Sage. She had just been shipped off to re-education, and Adrian, who's desperately looking for her, and so much happens in this book. It's so crazy. And in the beginning, I really did not think I was gonna like it. I was like, this is probably gonna be one of my least faves, but after reading it, I'm pretty sure that it's probably gonna be my most favorite book in this series because of events that happen. Honestly, that's really all I can say without getting into spoilery stuff, because the spoilery stuff is just so good and I need to talk about it. So if you haven't read the book and you don't want to be spoiled, go read the book, like right this very second, and then come back and we'll talk about it. Okay, so the main thing is that Sydney and Adrian get married, and I'm so excited. Like, oh my gosh, I love Adrian so much. They're so adorable. They're just, they work so well together. Like, he really, like, I don't know, he gets her, out of her box and makes her feel like wanted and loved, which is important because her father is like kind of awful and never made her feel that way because he's a terrible alchemist guy. We start off with Sydney in re-education, and it's like really dark. Like, they do some crazy stuff to alchemists who don't behave. I'm like, leave them alone, like, leave her alone. Sydney ends up having a few allies in re-education, but it's very like covert. Like, they have to act like they don't like each other, and they have to go to the extreme, like gross, like vampires, ew. Like, what are one of those? So when Sydney first gets there, she's completely shunned, because she's definitely slept with a vampire. Hashtag Sidrian. But over time, she makes a lot of, I don't know necessarily friends, more allies, because some of them are really like brainwashed and they genuinely believe all this stuff, but some of them are putting on like a hell of a show. Honestly, this is a bona fide prison. Like, they're genuinely brainwashing them. It's ridiculous, honestly. Sydney starts, casually breaking the rules, and for me, this is such a big deal because, like, Sydney, she just comes so far. Like, I just remember thinking back to the first book when she didn't even want Adrian to touch her, and now all she can think of is like, I need to get out of here. I miss Adrian. I need Adrian. Meanwhile, he's off just like partying it up with the Mariah, and I get that, he tried, and obviously Spirit is taking its toll on him, but like, they are literally torturing Sydney, and I really just feel like he could have done more. Like, he is Adrian freaking Evashkov. He could have done something else, but he went off and partied. But it's okay because I still love him. He needs to step it up a little bit. Adrian makes a new friend in this girl named Nina, and it's so painfully obvious that she has feelings for him. Like, you can tell that, like, there's lots of feelings going on, but because his relationship with Sydney is super secret, he's very vague about this girl who's like broken his heart, I believe is what he's telling people. But with all of his like partying going on, he can't see it, but Nina is smitten with him. And so when he finally is like no, like, I don't feel that way about you, like, I'm kind of in love, like, with somebody else, she's very upset and she gets really like mad and everything. And I feel like she didn't need to get that mad. Like, he was just being nice to her. Like, I don't feel like he was at all trying to lead her on or anything. Like, he was clearly not in a good state of mind. I just feel like she should have known better. And he was very upfront about it, like, when she realized, like, oh shit, like, she actually does like me. So I feel like she didn't really have any ground to stand on to get mad at him about that. When we finally find out, like, we're connecting the dots, putting the pieces together, and Adrian and Sydney kind of work in conjunction, and they connect and they have a spirit dream together finally after Sydney turns off the little gas things that are making them fall asleep, and they're reunited in their dream, and like they're like, oh my gosh, like it was all coming into place. Like I was like, finally, like Bay is coming, like everything will be okay, like just hold tight, Sydney. I was like, yes. And then freaking Sheridan. Sheridan's like I don't really know what she is. I've been calling her, like, you know, the jailer, because they're basically in like jail. Like they can't leave, they're in prison, they're being brainwashed. So she is basically like the jailer. She's running the show. Right before they come to rescue Sydney, she ends up taking her all the way, like, deep down into the lowest room in the facility and locking her up and like torturing her and all this stuff. And Sydney just shows like a great amount of strength. Like she's like, no, she's like, I'm not gonna like say anything. The only time she does say something is when they bring out Emma, her roommate, and they start torturing her, and then she's like, no, I have to tell them. And so she admits that she's been using magic, and Sheridan's kind of like, oh, we haven't had like one of you in a very long time. I really hope in the last book that they kind of explore why she has magic. I have this theory that it's because her mom is somehow like related to magic. Like maybe that's not the case. Maybe it's just like randomly like humans are born with magic. And if that's the case, I'm really upset because I was not born with magic. But maybe she was just like a human who just happened to be an alchemist who also happened to be a witch. But I think it'd be really interesting if it was like her mom is a witch, her dad is an alchemist. Ooh, crossbreed, hybrid, yeah. We get back to Adrian and the whole squad. They're like coming out and coming to save her and breaking her out, and with Marcus and everything, and they get everyone out and they like circle up the alchemists in the facility so like they can't come or anything like that, and they're reunited. But then Sydney does not go with Marcus, and like I understand why she did it, because she obviously like they basically said like you're public enemy number one right now. Like Marcus isn't even as big of a priority anymore because you're out here and you're crazy. And she was threatening people with magic and things like that. And like just to think, like in the first book she didn't even know she had magic, and then like in the books that followed she was like really scared to use magic, and she was like very conflicted and very like, this is wrong of me, like I've always been taught that magic is wrong. And I think that's a really cool element in the book, like where religion kind of comes in, and it causes her to kind of have all these reservations about what she's doing, because she's like basically been ingrained with what she believes is right and wrong, and everything that she's feeling and thinking and experiencing really goes against those beliefs, really. Like that's just a really interesting thing for me. Also, I love Sydney Sage. Like you always get those main characters who are just like ready to kick some ass, which is fine. Like we have like Clary Frey from the Mortal Instruments, and she was just like down for whatever. Like she's like, okay, let's go fight Valentine, get this mortal cup. And then we have like Rose Hathaway, who was in the Vampire Academy, and Rose Hathaway, I'm convinced that she was born a badass. Like I feel like she just came out of the womb and started kicking ass, honestly. And then we have like Sydney Sage, and she's so reserved, and she's very like, I just want to do things by the book. I'm keeping like my head down, doing what I'm told to, not questioning what I believe in, and sacrificing like everything, like including what I want for the good of this organization, because I believe that I'm doing this for the greater good. But ultimately she realizes that this isn't really like necessarily the greater good. Like she still has the same goals in wanting to protect the world from Strigoi, but she sees Moroi as more human, and she kind of splits off and she's like, there's different ways that we can do this. And I think that is a really cool element, and I love that about her character. So Sydney and Adrian, so they really have this Bonnie and Clyde dynamic going on where they're like, we have to run, but I mean it's kind of unlawful on both accounts, because like the Moroi, well, there's technically like no laws against it, I guess. It's not exactly like nobody's gonna walk in there and be like, yeah, like come on, you and your human girlfriend and everything. So they're on the run. Immediately they're being hightailed by all of these alchemists as they part ways with Marcus and all of them, and they kind of have to be like what are we gonna do, what is our next move, everything like that. And then Adrian proposes to Sydney, and I lost my mind. Like, it was just so crazy to me. And like, normally I'd be like, wow, like that's kind of like super young to like be married, but like at this point, like everything's kind of going to shit at this point, so they might as well get married. And she's like, yeah, we're gonna get married, and they were just gonna make it like very low key, and then see if she could claim asylum within the Maroi court, since although she wouldn't technically be a Maroi, she'd be married to one, so she'd be part of that universe and under Lissa's jurisdiction. So I'm like, loophole, plot twist, and I was just so excited. So then Adrian's like, no. He's like, this is you deserve your dream wedding day. And I was like, oh my gosh, like where's this going? So he sets all this up. They go out. It's just, oh, when I say like just legit, like Bonnie and Clyde vibes, but like better, amped up, crazier, more romantic, just everything, killing me, loving it. And so he gets everything together, but the thing about it is that makes it so much more urgent is they're constantly on the run, and it just always feels like there's someone like on your tail. Like as I was reading it, I know I was reading it really fast, I was like, oh my gosh, but like where are the people? They're coming. So he gives her money to like get like whatever dress she wants, like hair and makeup, and he gets like a nice little like suit to wear, and he gets like flowers and things like that. And he like bribes them at the chapel to be like, hey, like let us have our ceremony really quickly. And they do, and it's beautiful, and like there's even like a photographer taking pictures even though it's like empty. And I'm just thinking like one day in the future, you know, if they live through this somehow, they're probably gonna have like another like a vow renewal, and it's gonna be like all their friends and family and like their kids, and they're gonna be like, remember that time when we got married in Vegas and everybody was like chasing us and trying to kill us? And they're gonna be like, ugh, good times. And then the next thing you know, they open the chapel doors and there's the alchemists again, about to chase them, about to like kidnap them, like about to kill them, and they literally have to run, and they like run across the Vegas Strip. If this ever turned into like a film or a TV show, it would just be like so like such an interesting like scene to just like watch, like her running down the Vegas Strip with him in like this long dress, and they're running to a helicopter because surprise, Jill has arranged for a helicopter to pick them up and fly them to a school, I believe, which will then fly them straight to court, and then the alchemists like won't go there because they really don't fuck with vampires like that. Right when they're about to get on the helicopter, and there's Sheridan's bitch ass sitting there with all these like guards and stuff, and she walks up and like there's a gun to Adrian's head, and she's like, okay, you mess with Bae, new hubby, like you gotta go, you gotta go. Sydney makes these huge walls of fire, and like, oh, she's just so badass, and I love her so much. And she does it in such a way, so unflinching, that Sheridan's like, okay, okay, like please don't hurt them. Lets them go, and they go, and they fly off. They're on this plane, and there's just so many like little like cute moments just in between everything that's happening, because there's really not time for them to have an extended like cuteness. It's very like, oh my gosh, I love you, like cute little remark, and then they're running for their lives. So they finally get on this plane, and I feel like that's the first time like they can breathe, and like we as readers can kind of breathe and like, okay, like for the time being they're okay. Flies them back to court. As soon as they get there, they are literally rushed to see Queen Vasilissa. I love hearing that and saying that. I love Lissa so much. Queen Vasilissa. She's still wearing her wedding gown. He's still like, you know, wearing his little tux and everything. And there is her father and her sister who snitched on her and got her sent to re-education. And they're so mad, and they're like, you have to give her back to the alchemist. She belongs to the alchemist. And then Adrian is like, but she's my wife now, so she's like kind of Maroi. Lissa, being the queen that she is, lets them stay. So they're kind of, I guess, granted asylum, but only within like the court walls. And they get to stay, and it's great and lovely. And then in the end, just when we think we're like everything's gonna be okay, we're like, just kidding, because Jill's missing now. And the whole reason that any of this even happened is because they needed to protect Jill so that she didn't die, so that Lissa could stay queen, also so that Jill, you know, wouldn't be dead. So I know everything's about to go down in this next book. As far as who I think kidnapped her, I don't think it was Maroi. Maybe the alchemists, but at the same time they were invested enough for them to not want Jill to, you know, be kidnapped or be dead. Although I feel like they could use her as like a bargaining chip if they're that inclined on wanting Sydney back. Like, there has to be better ways that they could use their resources besides hunting her down. Like, just let her leave and she will leave you alone. That's all I have for Silver Shadows. Let me know what you thought about it down below in the comments, or if you have any books or anything or tags that you want me to do, like, leave those down below. I'm always up for new ideas, meeting new people, talking to new people. Just hit me up. Thank you so much for watching. I make videos every Friday, and if you like this one, you should like it down below and subscribe also, like, down below. Yeah, I would love that so much. Thank you. Bye.